224. Vaisampayana said, the Pandavas, after they had taken up their abode at Indraprastha, at the command of Dhrtitarashtra and Bhishma, began to bring other kings under their sway. All the subjects of the kingdom lived most happily depending upon Yudhishthira, the just, like a soul living happily depending upon a body, blessed with auspicious marks and pious deeds. And hopeful in Bharata's race, Yudhishthira paid homage unto virtue, pleasure and profit in judicious proportion, as if each were a friend dear unto him as his own self. It seemed as if the three pursuits, virtue, pleasure and profit, became personified on earth, and amongst them the king shone as a fourth. The subjects, having obtained Yudhishthira as their king, obtained in their monarch one that was devoted to the study of the Vedas, one that was performer of the great sacrifices, and one that was protector of all good people. In consequence of Yudhishthira's influence, the good fortune of all the monarchs of the earth became stationary, and their hearts became devoted to the meditation of the Supreme Spirit, and virtue itself began to grow every way all around. And in the midst of the assisted by his four brothers, the king looked more resplendent than he would have done if he were alone, like a great sacrifice, depending upon and assisted by the four Vedas. Many learned Brahmanas with Dhananjaya at their head, each like unto Rihaspati, waited upon the monarch, like the celestials waiting upon the Lord of the creation. From excess of affection, the eyes and hearts of all the people equally took great delight in Yudhishthira, who was even as the full moon, without a stain. The people took delight in him not only because he was their king, but also from sincere affection. The king always did what was agreeable to them. The sweet-speeched Yudhishthira, of great intelligence, never uttered anything that was improper or untrue, or unbearable or disagreeable. The best of monarchs of the Bharata race, endued with great energy, passed his days happily for the welfare of all as his own. His brothers also, bringing by their energy other kinds under their sway, passed their days in happiness, without a foe to disturb their peace. After a few days, Vibhatsu, addressing Krishna, said, "The summer days have set in, O Krishna. Therefore, let us go to the banks of the Yamuna, O slayer of Madhu, sporting there in the company of friends. We will, O Janardana, return in the evening." Thereupon Vasudeva said, "O son of Kunti, this is also my wish. Let us, O Partha, sport in the waters as we please, in the company of friends." Vaisampayana continued, "Then, O Bharata, having consulted thus with each other, Partha and Govinda, with Yudhishthira's leave, set out, surrounded by friends, reaching a fine spot on the banks of the Yamuna, suitable for purpose of pleasure, overgrown with numerous tall trees, and covered with several high mansions, that made the place look like the celestial city, and within which had been collected for Krishna and Partha numerous costly and well-flavored viands, and drinks and other articles of enjoyment, and floral wreaths and various perfumes. The party entered without delay the inner apartments, adorned with many precious gems of pure race. Entering those apartments, everybody, O Bharata, began to sport according to his pleasure. The women of the party, all of full rotund lips and deep bosoms, and handsome eyes, and gait unsteady with wine, began to sport there at the command of Krishna and Partha. Some amongst the women sported as they liked in the woods, some in the waters, and some within the mansions, as directed by Partha and Govinda. Draupadi and Subhadra, exhilarated with wine, began to give away unto the women, so sporting their costly robes and ornaments. And some amongst those women began to dance in joy, and some began to sing, and some amongst them began to laugh and jest, and some to drink excellent wines. Some began to obstruct one another's progress, and some to fight with one another, and to discourse with one another in private. Those mansions and the hoods, filled with the charming music of flutes and guitars and kettle drums, became the scene of prosperity personified. When such was the state of things there, Arjuna and Vasudeva went to a certain charming spot in those woods, not far from the place where the others were. O monarch, the high-souled Krishna, and that subjugators of hostile cities, this Arjuna, going thither, sat down upon two very costly seats. Vasudeva and Partha amused themselves therewith, discoursing upon many past achievements of prowess and other topics. Unto Vasudeva and Dhananjaya, happily sitting there like twin Ashwin in heaven, a certain Brahmana came. The Brahmana that came there looked like a tall sala tree. His complexion was like unto molten gold. His beard was bright yellow, tinged with green, and the height and the thickness of the body were in just proportion of mated locks, and dressed in rags. He resembled the morning sun in splendor, of eyes like lotus petals, and of a tawny hue. He seemed to be blazing with effulgence. Beholding that foremost of Brahmanas, blazing with splendor, approached towards them both Arjuna and Vasudeva, hastily rising from their seats, stood waiting for his commands. Thus ends the 224th section in the Khandava-daha Parva of the Adi Parva.